Hey, good looking people. Brett here. As I'm editing this week's episode, there is a pretty wicked echo that showed up on one of the audio tracks. And as I'm editing it out, I've gotten a lot of it out, but there are still some echo artifacts that are going to be showing up that I just cannot get rid of. Hopefully, it's not too distracting for you or too annoying for you. If you haven't checked us out on YouTube, it might be a good week to check it out. It is not as distracting when you're watching the video. So hopefully not too much for you to get through this week and it doesn't distract you. It's a great episode. We laughed a lot and we'd love to hear from you what your thoughts are. And if it ruined the experience for you, I am so sorry. We will do better next time.
All right, so I hit record, and we've got new microphone interface. I've got my skeleton in the background, and here comes the theme song. When these dads meet world, watching Boy Meets World. We grew up on the show, now we have kids, and host a podcast. We watch each episode and then share our thoughts and grades. When these dads meet world.
They want you to take the roles.
Oh yeah, I'm hosting. That's right. Welcome back to Dadsmeetworld, World, your weekly step-by-step deep dive into that classic '90s show known as Boy Meets World. I'm one of your two dads, Tyler.
And I'm your other of the two dads, Brett. How you doing, people?
Yes, how are you, people? Yeah, we got some new technology on my end, thus complicating things on both of our ends. But yeah, we're here to have some fun. Here for some excitement. I forgot to turn my light on right before we got started, so I think we're finally ready to get moving. Brett, how are you? What's new? What's going on?
I'm doing all right. Went to a jazz concert last night with all the middle school and high school jazz bands in our
Nice.
school district. So that was pretty cool. Some really good jazz musicians. So that was really nice. Jazz was really good, yeah. No, they've got a spectacular, there's 2 jazz bands for the high school, and Toby's in one of them. They're really good, and they've got a spectacular jazz band, they call them the Gold Tones, and they're like the top of the top,
Nice.
and, so really good concert, and then today, we're driving through town and realize, "Oh, yeah, it's the day before St. Patrick's Day," and there's like a pub crawl going on, so there's all kinds of people dressed in green lining the streets, just walking around, so it's just kind of fun to watch.
Mhm, mhm.
How are things going with you?
Well, they're going okay. A little dramatic now with the whole dog situation. It's fine. Everything's fine. Everyone's okay. It's like whenever Eric, was yelling from the upstairs, and Jason goes out. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Where's your first aid kit?" But no, everything's going pretty good. People are, you know, knock on wood, doing okay health wise. Um, yeah. Uh, feel like I've been running like a madman as of late, as you know, as you've seen,
Mhm.
and things are gonna kind of slow down a little bit. I went from having a full time job with two part time job ishes, and now I'm going to three part time jobs. So the strange thing is, I'm mostly
Always
keeping all
fun.
the same benefits I had before. So you know,
Mhm.
but no, things are going pretty good over here. Spent the day cleaning, so can't complain too much. Getting more time with the
Mm.
family. So, well,
Uh,
Brett, should we get to that synopsis?
we can definitely get to that synopsis. So, good looking people, this week we are looking at episode 5 of season 4, Shallow Boy. So when
Shadow.
Oh, yes. So when Eric escorts a highly optimistic musician away from the store, her constant perkiness begins to annoy him.
Oh, you.
And he soon finds himself the topic of a scathing hit song on the radio. Meanwhile, Topanga does not like Cory's habit of being pals with kids instead of parenting them. This episode was written by Jeff C. Sherman, directed by Jeff McCracken, a couple of Jeffs there. Originally aired October 18th, 1996, and currently has an 8.3 rating on IMDb. Last week, our episode had a Nielsen rating of 12.3, and we got a bump this week up to 16.3. 4
Wow.
million extra viewers tuned in.
I wonder what changed.
They probably marketed it a little better.
There's another thing we could talk about later.
Yeah, it could be. Well, take it away, Tyler.
Oh my gosh. I am so professional. I don't have my script up, but that's okay. Because this episode starts from the POV of Eric for some reason. And
Yeah,
there is
we
a
actually get
young
to see the
lady.
outside of the store.
Yeah, it actually looks quite nice. Looks enticing to come into.
It does. I would go into that outdoor store.
I would. It kind of, what it reminds me of, Brett, when you go to like one of those like off the beaten path type locations, like around like say mountaintops and whatnot, or not mountaintops, but uh places where they have like ski lodges and whatnot. It
Hmm.
kind of feels like one of those where it's like in a small community, small town vibe. So
It does. Yeah.
kind of nice. Oh, there we go. So yes, we have a young lady singing a song, and Eric decides to give her some money. Apparently gives her $20, which was not what he wanted to do. But he goes inside, and his father is all sorts of upset, like, shut the door. She's driving away customers. Kind of feels like it's loitering, which they could technically call the cops on her for that.
Yeah, and Alan makes a reference to a bum that would spit on people. So I mean, this is not unheard of for anyone who owns a store. There are always going to be people that sit outside your store and will try to sell cookies or will try and do fundraisers or just try and like this lady's doing, just playing their music and trying to make a few bucks.
Hmm.
So, but there are also laws in place that a store owner or even employees can shoo them on down the road. Why Alan is giving this task to Eric, not sure.
Yeah, well, it kind of just shows that when Alan doesn't want to deal with something, he has Eric deal with it,
Yeah.
which is not going to go well for them in general. Um, but yeah, Eric goes out to solve the problem, and unfortunately, this young singer has a pretty face and a pretty smile, and
Yes, and we
takes
get
all of
to
his
finally
money.
see. She smiled at him.
Yes, a very odd noise for Eric to make, but he makes it nonetheless. And Alan tells him, "All right, take this girl out to lunch and tell her to hit the road." So that's what he goes out to do, apparently, and he needs some money because he used all of it up.
Yeah. So let's meet this young lady.
Sun shines just for me, and I feel
Feel
good.
good. I will say the music is not bad. I could not
No,
take it all the time, but in small doses, it's not bad music. She's talented.
the lyrics are not bad. Timing is probably her problem.
Yes. But this is Corinna Collins, and she is played by Leisha Haley. She is a singer songwriter in her own right. So they did get someone who's not just lip syncing or anything. This is her first and only appearance on Boy Meets World. She has 30 acting credits on her resume. And this was her first credited role in Hollywood. First time she ever shows up on people's TV screens. She also went on to appear in Grey's Anatomy, The L Word, and The L Word Generation Q, Drop Dead Diva, CSI, American Dad, Supernatural, Bosch, Silicon Valley, and others. And she has been in at least 2 bands that have done some real, made some real noise, we'll say. So Corinna, and I didn't search the bands, but based on the stills that I saw, definitely not Corinna's style of music.
Fair. But I think okay. I'm gonna give this bold prediction, Brett, because I was thinking about this after watching it. I think she is the TK of this season. Like, comes in for one episode, has a big splash, has really good chemistry with one of the main characters, and could have been a reoccurring character easily. They could have written her to stay in the show, like maybe choosing when to sing, and Eric kind of helping her to be like, okay, we don't sing here, but we sing here, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And also, like, who Eric eventually becomes, because we're still in the Eric is still kind of a normal guy phase. Um, he- who he ends the show being would fit with her.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm just gonna chalk this up to the second woman that he has interacted with or gone on a date with, who easily could have been his girlfriend, and this is the TK of the season.
Yes. Season 7, Eric and Corinna would be a perfect match.
But it's not important, Brett, because the joke is important.
Oh, yes.
Yes, but we go to the classroom, Brett, and this is the only time we see Feeney in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about this will be the last presidential election, that they will still be high schoolers, and because it's 1996. I'll have to look that up. I forgot about that. Um, and he's trying to figure out what are the issues that they're most concerned about. Let's talk about them. Mr. Hunter, what issue are you concerned with? The swimsuit issue?
Boffo, Mr. Hunter.
And then Corey has essentially says nothing. Like, I have a passion and a desire to talk about something that is ailing us. Yes, please go ahead. I used it all up.
I'm all done.
Yeah. And he asks Topanga to save him, which she says basically the biggest thing about our society is failing us is the breakdown of the American family. And
Mm-hmm.
Sean is clearly offended by what she's saying and assumes she's talking about him. And there wouldn't be as much crime and there wouldn't be a decline in education if the family structure was able to stay together. Sean, lay off me.
It is a funny moment, and there's a part of me that wishes that they would really dig into this. It's not the right episode for it. I mean,
No.
I'm okay with them just doing the joke here, but it would be interesting to see them really dig in with from the perspective of Topanga at this point in the series and Sean, because Topanga's not necessarily wrong. I mean, there are studies and there's data to back up her perspective. And
Yeah.
Sean, being who he is and coming from the family that he's come from, that's only gonna be gonna feel like an attack on him.
Yeah.
It would make for an
Well, I mean,
interesting episode.
it would. And it does make sense that that Sean would be a little on the more sensitive side about that as well. And for Topanga to completely blow off the fact that one of her best friends is coming from a broken home, essentially.
Hmm.
I mean, his parents are back together and they're trying again, but there's brokenness there.
Oh yes,
And of course,
I
Topanga doesn't
want
realize
to be normal, chat.
I want to be normal, Spud. Anywho, yeah, but this is also a complete 180 of the Topanga that we meet in the first season when she's talking about the importance of free expression and you having an identity, and the parents are just there to help guide. They're not there to be strict and assertive. So
Hmm.
all of the things that she's talking about of who parents are supposed to be and the American family is not what she believed even last year. Because again, her
Yeah,
father,
she's
when you
going
meet
through some
him,
changes.
is, you know, Mr. Lawrence and I have to talk about reality. Ooh, sounds groovy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just that Topanga is who they need her to be, and I mean, this is who Topanga is from this point forward. There's nowhere else
Hmm.
around it. Um, but yeah, I like how Sean tries to get up, and Mr. Feeney's a little offended, and he points up, and the bell rings.
It's a great bit.
Hmm. Oh, that's it. Sean and Cory are talking in the hallway, Brett, and apparently, Cory's day is wide open because Topanga isn't available to hang out, so wants to
Guys'
know if he
night.
wants to hang out with her. Yeah, do a guys' night. And when Sean discovers why Topanga's unavailable, he says, there is no you and I hanging out. You have to be with your girlfriend alone in a house on a couch. It's this obsession that this how do you describe it, Brett? Degenerate kind of has of being alone with a girl on a couch. That's like perfection for him.
That is Sean's ideal date night. Being alone with a girl on a couch.
Yes,
Yeah.
dangerously.
Dangerous. Cory is dangerous.
Uh, we transition to Chubby Check, or to Chubby's, Brett, where we are officially on the longest date that Eric has ever been on. I say that not because the actual date is long, but because of the way it's edited together. There's definitely like a night break in between Cory's storyline and Eric's storyline.
Yes.
I'd like to just believe that it's meant to feel like they've been at Chubby's for way too long, and Eric is going to go crazy.
I'll buy it based on the tower he builds with his French fries.
Yes, but Corinna reveals that she loves music and she wants to dedicate her life to music because she went and saw Little Annie on Broadway, which is, reasonable. There's lots of
Hmm.
people that go and see a Broadway show and realize, oh, I like singing and this is what I want to do. They don't spend all of their time singing, but comedy, you know, one episode that we have her. But she gets advice that she needs to start singing what she experiences, and she needs to make up songs on what's going on around her. And apparently, she was given advice at one point about, being a little more edgy.
Yeah, she doesn't
And
have an
she's
edge.
Yeah, it doesn't have an
Her uncle
edge.
at the music at the record company says she doesn't have enough of an edge.
Hmm. But we realize that she's 18 years old, so she, like Eric, apparently just graduated, and
Hmm.
so now she's just bumming her way to playing music. Um, which, if her uncle has a radio, or not radio, but a record label, record recording studio, let's just say, Brett, that probably her parents have some money, and not like
Yeah,
an
someone
Amy
in
and
that
Alan.
family's got money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not like an Amy and Alan situation, but she's doesn't have to worry about going to work and school or
Yeah.
anything like that. Oh, where is it? I like how she's I don't know where she says exactly, but she's like, I'm 18, I've lived. And that's exactly what Eric says just a few episodes before
Yes, it
this.
is. I was thinking that the whole time they were in this scene. I was like, that's Eric just a few weeks back.
Hmm. But we transition to Topanga babysitting and getting some last minute instructions from the parents that she is babysitting for
It's
Billy.
Mr. and Mrs. Epperson.
Or as I'm just going to say it, the future Cory and Topanga, really.
Pretty much, yeah.
I like because we realize that the main rule they have is that Topanga can have no voice whatsoever, and they open the door and Cory is there.
Water
They
guy.
they immediately go, "Oh, we didn't mean this boy. This is Alan and Amy's boy. Dangerous little boy."
I love what the dad says to him. We're all dangerous in the beginning.
Well, there's a part, Brett, where you're looking at him like, "Oh my gosh, is this guy gonna like intimidate Cory? Like, you're in my house, don't break my rules." But then he's just like, "Yeah, we're all dangerous in the beginning."
Yeah, this is a guy that's just, he's done.
Yeah, he's in his zone. He's has his job. He comes home. He's just trying to survive. But I think the thing that maybe irks me a smidgen, Brett, and we can talk about this a little bit, but they're leaving and their child is already in bed.
Yeah, this is their kid has a 9 o'clock bedtime. We're pushing 9:30 here, and they're choosing now to go out on their date, which no shame. I mean, I just wouldn't expect this particular couple to be finding anything to do that late at night.
Yeah,
It does seem a very odd time to expect a high schooler to come over to start her evening babysitting your kid.
yeah. I mean, and I'm not sure where we're going to drop the audio, but when I used to babysit, it was normally a right before dinner or right after dinner, and then kid would go to bed, and then parents would come home. Was the
Mm-hmm.
typical, whether excuse me, whether it was my sister or another kid that I was babysitting, like it's very common. Either it's a day babysitting or nighttime after dinner, before dinner / they're in bed before parents come home. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, when we've had Abby or Toby babysit, we either go out in the afternoon or we will go out around dinner time, and we come back 9, 10 o'clock at the latest, but that's when we're coming home. We're not leaving at that point.
now what we have to keep in mind, Brett, is that we're not talking about an average couple. We're talking about a
The
couple that they're
Eppersons.
writing about from California, where there is no rules and it's anarchy.
Maybe the Eppersons really have a wild side and they're going out to a rave.
I mean, they could, or they could just. I mean, there are bands that play, and so maybe they're going to a place where there's a band playing, and
Things don't get wild until 10:30.
maybe. I mean, this in my Ubering, quite often it would be both a husband and a wife who I would get calls about, who would both be, swerving trying to get to my car. So it wouldn't be surprising if this is one of those type of couples. Maybe they have a cab waiting for them and it's got to pick them up at the right time, drop them off at the right time. Who knows?
Yep.
Well, good-looking people, we have joining us once again my baby sister, Rachel, and unlike last time, she is a mama. So, hi, Rachel.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, I'm great.
Yeah. How's the new mom life treating you?
It's exhausting, but I mean, it's worth it.
That's fair. You're now relating to people like Amy from Boy Meets World.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Fair. Now, Rachel, we have a very special episode right now on for Dads Meet World. We're talking about season 4, episode 5, where Cory struggles to understand the importance of babysitting and how it impacts your future children. So just curious, Rachel, who was your babysitter growing up?
Oh, geez. I mean, you and Ryan babysat me a lot, probably,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
because you were 10 and 7 years older than me. So
mm-hmm.
by the
So if
time,
you could rank all the people that have like babysat you even once or twice, who would you say is like your favorite ever babysitter?
I don't like where this is going.
It's a trap.
No, be honest.
I had an after-school babysitter. Her name was Nina. I went to her house every day after school, so I would probably say Nina.
Right. But if you had like a summer babysitter that you had every single day, or just someone who would, at nighttime was forced to babysit you against their will, but they still made it fun, who would that be?
Who let me go to bed with a brush stuck in my hair?
I don't think that happened.
I vividly remember that. I suppose it would be you.
What? Okay, explain this whole brush in the hair, because honestly, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I definitely went to bed one night with a brush stuck in my hair. It was Mom's round brush that she used for her bangs, and you could not get it out of my hair.
So I told you go to bed, and Mom will get it out once they get home.
Correct.
I mean, it makes logical sense.
Whatever.
Now, Brett, I have questions for Rachel, but I was going to give the question, let you ask a question, since you knew me in my teenage years and also knew Rachel in this poor, horrible time when I would have to babysit her. So what type of questions have you wanted to ask her?
Well, Rachel, how many times do you remember Tyler getting in trouble when Mom and Dad got home and he was babysitting you?
It depended if I cried or not. I can't really remember many times. I usually was in bed by the time that they would get home, so I sadly cannot say that I remember him getting into trouble.
Well, that's good. Were there any times...
AKA, you were in bed before they got home.
Yes.
Were there any times that you were ever scared that he was able to help you overcome fear?
Like while babysitting, I don't know, honestly, but there were other times that he definitely helped me with questions in life, I guess I would say.
And did he ever do fun things with you while he was babysitting?
Oh yeah, we he babysat me one night, and him and I ate a whole Little Caesars pizza one time. So, and watched the movies and ate ice cream, and he tried to make things very fun.
Good babysitter.
Yeah, I think what you mean to say is I ate almost a whole Little Caesars pizza, and you had like one or two slices.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think that might be accurate.
Mm-hmm. Now, Rach, did I guess in theme of this episode of Boy Meets World that we're watching, which I know for sure you would watch in preparation for this.
Yeah, I knew all about this.
Did it ever feel like I was too loosey-goosey with rules and kind of just let you do whatever you felt like? Or was I a little stricter and said, no, this is what you're going to do, young lady?
I mean, I don't think you said it in those words, but it wasn't like a free-for-all.
Well, that's good. Because you respected me, right?
Sure.
No. So in this episode, there's a part where Cory is talking about his philosophy when it comes to babysitting, and he's like, you know why? Because these kids, they respect me. They fear me. And you see these children all coming up into their house at the same time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Mostly my goal was just to say, Rach, who was your favorite babysitter of all time? Clearly it was me. I would let you still get away with murder here and there. But So I guess I will say, because you also did babysit.
Yes.
Now, when you babysat, I guess what was your goal babysitting slash, you know, do you feel like it was a good preparation for like parenthood and whatnot?
I mean, I would hope everybody's goal while babysitting is to keep the children alive and safe. I don't know. I mean, you have to have a lot of patience, so I guess that helps with being a parent because there's definitely times when I look at my child and he's screaming at me and I have no idea why and I lose my patience. So, but I
Fair.
mean,
Now,
number one
did you
goal
ever
was to keep people alive.
fair? Did you ever see your husband now interact with little kids and wonder, is that how he's going to treat our children someday?
Not in a bad way.
Okay.
He was very good with children, and I was actually showing your son Grayson videos of him playing with him when he was about the age of my child. So we were watching those the other night.
Yeah. No, my son loved Kyle when he was little.
Yes.
He still
Chachu,
does.
we
He
call
spends
him.
more time with him. Yes, Chachu. Those were the days. Well, we don't want to take up too much more of your time. Brett, do you have any closing questions for our baby extraordinaire slash person who was babysat by the world's greatest babysitter?
No, I am all good. I am satisfied.
Well, thank you, Chi-Chi slash Rachel, for hopping on with us. I greatly appreciate it. And
No problem.
can't wait to babysit your child because, well, spoiler, I did that the other day and I had so much fun with him.
Yes. I kind of thought that's what you were calling about, was to talk about how you babysat him and how you're going to babysit him again, but
No, there's no fun in that.
that's all right.
He's a baby. All you got to do is make sure he doesn't bonk his head and you're fine.
Right.
Just make sure he doesn't fall over.
Feed him when he's hungry. Right.
I gotta say, I've never seen a baby who like you put him on his back and he just stays there and just super chill about it.
Oh, sometimes. Other times he flips like a hamburger back and forth.
hmm He's a cutie. So, thank you, Chi Chi.
Yep.
Thanks so much, Rachel.
You're welcome.
But yes, Billy is already in bed, is what we find out.
Yes. Or so we think.
Or so we thought, because Cory's sitting on the couch and he gets a wet willy out of nowhere.
Yes. Billy Epperson, played by Jonathan Osser. First and only time we'll see him on Boy Meets World. 27 credits on his resume. Matilda, Men Behaving Badly, Chicago Hope, The Clueless TV series, Judging Amy, Touched by an Angel, Anger Management, Ned and Stacy. He hasn't been seen on camera since 2017, so he's been MIA for quite a while.
Yeah, but he's one of those kid actors that would just pop up on a TV show every now and then. So he was one of those faces where you're like, oh, hey, I recognize that kid.
Yeah, the guy's seen you somewhere. But I'm curious, how close are the Eppersons to the Matthews? Because they know Cory, they know Alan and Amy, and Billy knows Morgan. So this family is clearly, they've got some familial connections to the Matthews. So I'm curious how close they are.
Maybe they work at the same real estate and or museum and or art gallery, whichever that Amy works at.
Mr. Epperson is the guy that Alan hired to do the books.
Oh, could be. I mean, honestly, this is the part that I'm annoyed with the fact that they didn't really establish Amy's career, because her being a real estate agent would make sense, because this could easily be a couple who has multiple houses that they run, operate, all that jazz. Maybe he's also a real estate agent. They work for the same place, you know.
Mm-hmm.
or she works for the same place. I don't know. There's so many little webs that they could have, they don't have, and they don't care because it's all about what, Brett? The joke,
The joke.
which makes me feel a goobois.
It does.
A goobois.
Thank you. Billy reveals that he has a Nintendo 64 upstairs. Old toy alert.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. I used to play GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64 in college.
Mm-hmm. Yes, no, Nintendo 64 is a huge deal back then. I remember our family got one and we felt rich. We actually came with the those. It was like a special pack that came with the pod racing game. It was quite exciting. Yes, Nintendo 64 was a huge deal once upon a time, and I still have ours.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We don't have.
Yeah, I don't have one. It was my roommate's.
I have it.
I have an emulator on my Switch, but
Ooh, very nice.
I think I have a 64 emulator. I know I have a
I
Super
mean, makes
Nintendo
sense.
emulator.
There's a lot of 64 games that you can play now on the Switch. I know that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, Nintendo 64, big deal. Cory's all excited. What are we doing here? Topanga says, Billy, what are you doing up? You have 9 o'clock bed, but he has a 64. I gotta say, Brett, for the sake of the good-looking people, we have to admit, if you found out someone had a 64 at that time, you've let them get away with murder, so you can play that thing.
Yes, if you were in Cory's shoes at that time, you would be doing what Cory is doing.
Mm-hmm. So this is just this nice back and forth they have where Topanga is trying to assert her authority, and both Cory and Billy are just not having it and just acting super childish.
Cory is clearly at Billy's intellectual level through this whole exchange.
Yeah. This is just Cory showing just a little bit too childish. But we learned, Brett, about the Friday night lineup, which to me sounds a whole lot like TGI Friday.
It does.
So they're talking about the Friday night lineup, and apparently, if you don't watch the Friday night lineup, when you go to school on Monday, you got nothing to talk about.
That's right.
And it's it's interesting to think about that in the realms of what TGI Friday was at this time, and potentially what they were trying to put the narrative out there. If you don't watch TGIF lineup, then if you don't not watching TGIF, what are you doing? What are you going to talk about with people?
But I love what this conversation morphs into between the three of them, and I clipped a big chunk of it.
Oh, good.
At least let me watch my favorite show. It's on right now.
But it's 9:30. I know you don't stay up past 9.
It used to be on at 8:30, but this year they moved to 9:30. Those idiots.
Wait a minute, they moved that show to 9:30. Why?
No one knows.
Well, was it doing badly at 8:30?
No.
Well, why didn't they leave it alone?
They're trying to kill it. They're trying to kill it.
Those are bad, bad people.
Cory, we have to have a little talk.
Right after the show, honey.
There will be no show. Get to bed.
Well, that was nicely done. Now it's just you and dangerous me on a cozy couch.
You're going home.
Well, then it's just you. What fun could that be?
You have no idea what this is about, do you?
Yes, I do. And it happens to be a very important issue, not just to me and you, but to all men and women in relationships, both here and abroad.
You have no idea what this is about, do you?
Oh, do I ever?
Hey, Cory, you're missing a real funny one. The curly-headed kid keeps on digging himself in deeper and deeper.
Love that kid. He is such a dupe.
This is probably one of the first real meta things they do in this show. Because, Brett, I mean, you were more aware and alert at this time. What are they referring to in this moment?
Oh, at this point, Boy Meets World had been shifted from the 8:30 time slot to the 9:30 time slot. ABC was juggling the lineup around, and that was a very popular theory at the time that ABC was trying to kill off Boy Meets World. That people thought that ABC was under the impression it had outlived its usefulness. So this was This was the writer's way of telling ABC, we have our eyes on you.
Now, I will say that there are darker themes in this season. So, ABC on the whole has the right to go, oh, you're going to be doing harder materials. You're going to be talking to a more mature audience. We're going to bump you back so that you can have those thoughts. Because, as I was a kid, we, would stay up so long, but there was a point where my parents would say, no, you go to bed now. So I know for a fact we were watching the season. I'm not sure at what point we were allowed to keep watching at 9:30, but apparently we were. So who knows?
Yeah, and ABC had its. You're pointing out exactly why ABC moved it to later in this season or later in the night. You're talking about a slate of characters who are, as we found out just 2 episodes ago, Cory says he's in 11th grade. I mean, these are juniors in high school, and that's your main cast of characters. So they're gonna be dealing with deeper storylines.
Yeah, exactly. I love the conversation between them of, you have no idea what this is about. Oh no, I know this. It's so important to me and you and all relationships out there.
You have no idea what this is about.
Do I ever? I love that kid. He's such a doof.
He just keeps digging himself deeper and deeper.
It's great. It's probably one of the best written lines of this whole show. That's what I'm gonna say.
It is a top 5 for me.
But yes, we go back to the worst date ever at Chubby's Brett, and this is the part where he talks about how Uncle Dave thinks she needs to have more life experience, and she's 18, so she went to sleepaway camp, and she rode the wrong bus once. She had a goldfish who died. Suicide was it? And she goes, "Oh, you," and this is where she sings, "Oh, you." Glad I know you, and I'm glad to know. Oh, me too. We'll never get the flu.
Get the flu.
Go a choo choo.
Go a choo choo choo. And did you pay? I watched this episode 3 times. And the 3rd time I made it a point to watch the background actors for their reactions. If good looking people, if you've never watched the background actors in this scene, watch them. It's great. Just some of the facial expressions you get.
Yeah. And so Eric is kind of noting the fact that people are paying attention. And apparently this is the part that Eric is ready for the check, Brett. Now,
check, they would say.
This is a funny joke, but an interesting point, because we have not established that Chubby's is a place where you have a waitress who brings you out the food. It's been established of you go to the window, you pay, and then you get your food.
Yeah, Chubby's seems to be classing up the joint with waiting staff.
Yeah. Yeah, this year, like, there's a clear waitress. Maybe there's only one waitress, who knows, but they're apparently stepping it up a little bit this year. This is not the only time we have a waitress.
No, it's not.
So, yeah, Eric's looking for the check. Do you have any of this stuff clipped from what Eric is saying to her?
I do. I have when he finally breaks down and tells her exactly what he thinks of her.
Let's get right to it then.
Okay, Karina, I don't know how to say this, so I'm going to choose my words very carefully. I think you're a psycho. I want to get as far away from you as I possibly can.
What?
Well, I'm just not the guy for you. I mean, you need a guy who's happy and perky all the time, you know? Maybe a guy who's had part of his brain removed and he thinks he's a bunny. And you guys can go off and be bunnies together. Check! For the love of God, will someone please bring me a check?
You
don't want to see me anymore, do you?
Oh, see, it's not just that. I want to put you on a rocket ship and send you to the planet Flafluga.
This has never happened to me before.
That's a minor chord.
Now,
I
okay.
think you're a psycho.
I think you're a psycho. Okay, so based on the waitress's reaction, here's my question. Did they use a take where a few times before that it was just kind of like a check, and this time like he really went for it, and it like just kind of made everyone nervous, and that because the waitress reaction, either she's an incredible random actress who thought this was her time to shine, or she was legit kind of thrown off by his reaction.
Yeah, I mean, if this was just acting, kudos, and I hope it led to bigger and better things for her than
Mhm.
just background acting.
Right. But we know one of the things that we do know, Will Friedle is one of those actors that really goes for it when he has these little moments. So it wouldn't surprise me if part of his preparation was like really going for it and it
Yes.
messing with people.
Oh yeah. I love that whole sequence. It's another top one for me. Maybe someone who's had part of his brain removed.
And he thinks he's a buddy, and you can go off and be buddies together.
Oh yeah. It's
Oh,
just great.
but I love that immediately Corinna turns this moment towards her music and uses it.
Minor chords. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
and Eric recognized it immediately.
And it's catchy. Yeah. And as she's playing again, watch the background actors, and especially the waitress behind the counters really getting into it. It's a kick.
Mm-hmm.
But not for Eric.
No. Now, I have to wonder, Brett, do you think this is how it goes sometimes with creative people, that you're just around them and all of a sudden they're just in the zone into something and you're like, well, I guess our conversation's over?
Oh, undoubtedly. Yeah. I mean, the really creative ones, yeah. I mean, the inspiration strikes and you're done. Go find something else to do and leave them alone for a while.
Right. Well, we were watching Travis Kelce's girlfriend's new movie, and Grayson was asking questions about it. And we're like, listen, she's just super talented. I mean, she's Travis Kelce's girlfriend, but she's super talented. And she's at a
It's a
level
good thing
that's
he put her on the map.
I really want to start putting those things out there. Of like, can we start doing those? Travis Kelce putting her on the map.
Oh yeah.
No, but for real, we're watching. He goes, "Is that Travis Kelce's girlfriend?" And we're like, "Yes." And he's like, "Can I see a picture of him?" Yep.
Oh, Grayson.
Like the 6-year-old boy. Yep. Excuse me. So we're back at the school, Brett, and Cory's trying to talk to Topanga about going and getting a little bite ski, a charming little place called the cafeteria.
Oh yes.
Apparently, it's been a while since we lost our lunch lady, and we've forgotten all about the hardship of that because we clearly are excited to go back over there.
Taco Bar Tuesday will do that for you.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, maybe they institute Taco Bar Tuesday to help recover from the loss of Brenda, the lunch lady.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, apparently Topanga's quite concerned. Would you feed that to our children? To answer as a parent, Topanga, yes, I would.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with tacos.
We had walking tacos the other night.
You got your protein, you got your vegetables, you got your dairy if you put sour cream on it. I mean, come on. Got your dairy if you put cheese on it, period.
Oh yeah.
Come
Well,
on.
this is one of those episodes where Topanga's just looking for a fight.
She is not painted in a positive light through much of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
She
I
is
think
definitely overreacting.
You're not getting why I'm really upset. Oh no, my precious Peach. I had that right away.
I will say she's not wrong to be upset with Cory for the way he behaved, but she is wrong in him for the wrong. She's holding her anger for the wrong reasons.
Right. If in a relationship your partner is acting immature and making things harder on you, it's very reasonable to be upset about that. However, for her to be considering their future children and how it's all affecting them, yes, that's a problem.
What? Because we're just kissing?
But this is the first time, Brett, that we get the famous point at the mouth. Taco! Thank you.
Right now, my blood sugar's dropping, and I just want a taco.
I'm assuming that just like at my house, Brett, every now and then you and your family will do that.
Oh, totally.
Mhm. It doesn't matter where you're at. You'll just be at the, say in the middle of the grocery store, and the wife will go, "What do you want for dinner?" And I may look at her and go, "Taco!"
Yeah. I didn't use the taco call, but I did have Mexican for dinner tonight.
Very nice. I like because we're just kissing.
I knew it was a good kisser, but I didn't know it was that good.
Oh, well, if that taco is
Oh, the
more
mind of
important
an
to our
adolescent boy.
child, then this family has dysfunction written all over it. Hey, Core, taco? I don't think I'm supposed to have one.
Oh, yeah.
Now, can we
Good
just
stuff.
assume for 2 seconds, Brett, that that's at the beginning of the week, and now we're at the end of the week, maybe?
Either that or the babysitting was on a Friday and we're on to a Tuesday.
Right. I mean, the only thing
I mean, it'd be odd. It would be odd for me to accept parents having a high schooler babysit on a Monday night starting at 9:00.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's they don't have school the next day, one of those deals.
Yeah.
I don't know. The way that they play with time is sometimes frustrating.
We could institute the game of what day is this?
Yeah, but it feels like we're having a small time jump.
Yes, we are definitely we're moving along with at least a few days here in the span of this episode.
Uh-huh. Like how the next line is, because they're walking into the sportsman store. He says, "Eric, you know how you have this great job with Dad and your life is finally beginning to come together? Yeah, that's over."
That's over.
They take the sounds of sleeping sled dogs out to play a new song. Yeah. It sounds like they're just whimpering and not making good sounds. But anywho, yeah, we begin to hear a much faster pace version of Shallow Boy, as it's called.
Yeah, we get the TV trope of hitting play and going right to exactly what you want. In this case, it's the chorus, and I like it with the verse. I also prefer the acoustic version rather than this ballad version that
I prefer the
Sean calls
acoustic
it.
version, so
Yeah, I like what we had at Chubby's, but yeah, so it's catchy still. It's still pretty catchy.
yep. Oh, sorry.
But we also
Eric,
get to hear it on the radio.
it's true. Eric is hoping that could she refer to anyone? And apparently, track 2 is Eric Matthews. You're so vain. You probably didn't know the song before was about you.
Oh yes.
Which, okay, I feel like one shouldn't directly call out one individual.
Yeah, you're pushing libel there. But again, we're talking 18-year-olds with no life experience.
Yeah. All signs point to you.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're going to write a diss track, don't use names.
Yeah, but I think what bothers me about this, because FM 190 is talking about this, and you know, a song like this would come out, and they'd wait for it to kind of build momentum and whatnot, and then eventually they would drop more. It just kind of feels like they're it's because of the joke. I get that, Brett. I get it. I know we have to keep reminding ourselves it's about the joke. It's not real life. And they wouldn't do this the way they would do it now, all that jazz. I get it. But it's just that small annoyance of this song should have been enough to annoy him and follow him. Almost like whenever that movie comes out of From How I Met Your Mother about Ted Mosby and
The Wedding
Stella.
Bride.
And how that annoys Ted, but everyone else loves it.
Yeah. I've seen it 3 times.
Yes. But we transition to the Matthews household, where Cory's apparently reading a book called You're Gonna Be a Daddy.
I love this interaction with him and Amy, so I clipped it.
Hi, honey. So it's so good to see you studying. So you're gonna be a daddy. Oh boy, suddenly I have no legs.
No, it's not what you're thinking, Miss Dirty Mind. It's research.
Research why?
Well, because one day Topanga's gonna be a mother and I'm gonna be the father or the uncle or the way I'm going, the guy down the street with the binoculars, but I just want to be ready for whatever it is I'm gonna be.
Well, that's good, Cor, but mostly you learn from experience. I mean, your dad and I weren't prepared in advance, but we did the best we could, and we ended up raising 3 wonderful, well-adjusted children.
Hey, now I'm a maladjusted woman-hating loser freak.
Okay, 2.
Okay, 2. But I think Amy gives Cory some very solid advice there. And it's something that should help to calm him. It's not something that he should really be worrying about right now in his life. So it's solid advice that any parent should be passing on to their children.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's the thing too, is parenting is something you learn on the go, and you can prepare yourself.
Users manuals.
You can read books, but at the end of the day, every single child is different. What worked for one kid won't work for another kid. You know, we've been talking about differences as, you know, Henry's getting older, just how different he is from his older brother. And things like, you know, FaceTiming your wife in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that.
I'm a maladjusted loser freak.
And then Morgan comes in just amazing, just singing, loser freak.
Morgan's got pipes.
Can't believe you're my brother. Ew.
Ew.
I mean, the one lyric that doesn't hold up well, but it still fits is and he doesn't like girls, if you know what I'm saying. Not great, but for the times, we get it.
Yeah, not great, but it's still it calls into question his own masculinity, which is for his character, that's exactly where you'd punch him to hurt him. So, I mean, Eric and his girls, that's what you'll want.
Mm-hmm. And Eric is ready to burn the ground.
Okay, this chick is toast.
Yes, and Alan even comes in and says, "Hey, remember that girl that's playing guitar? She wants to talk to you."
He's
And Eric
ready
hopes
to
that means she's ready to
apologize.
apologize. Yeah. Oh goodness. Which go immediately to that moment. It's just the balance of this episode is all over the place, but
It is. It moves, but yeah, they're not. It's a little off kilter sometimes.
you know, but yeah, Eric is sitting there and he is surprised that she shows up. Well, she's surprised he showed up. He's surprised that she's out in the sun because apparently she's now going dark and she's completely, she has black slick hair and all black wardrobe and
She's emo before emo was emo.
so she's writing down all the things that he's saying and she's basically just trying to be like, hey, tell me what you want to say to me. He's just like, you made me miserable. Stop it. He goes, great. Tell me more. That's it.
Said my piece. I'm done.
She's like, no, make me feel bad. Tell me. And this is where Eric realizes she's out. She's got 3 songs in her, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we know, good-looking people, that's sometimes all you need, and you could easily get a couple more songs after that other people help you write. So I don't think I've ever listened to a CD and not have 2 or 3 songs that I love, and the other songs I just don't pay attention to.
Yeah, and I mean, in today's world, you drop singles. We don't really do whole albums for a lot of people anymore. Granted,
hmm
some bands still do, but a lot of people are more concerned with singles. So,
Oh, yeah. Yes, Uncle Dave needs more angry songs. And her edginess and darkness is starting to fade away. And Eric starts to bring up her kryptonite, Brett.
the dandelion.
Yes. And he starts to sing, "The sun will come out." When?
Tomorrow.
Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow.
There'll be sun.
hmm And they sing "The sun will come out tomorrow." And Eric starts to back away a little bit. She's like, "Where are you going?"
Tomorrow. I love this sequence.
It's great. Also, again, there's great chemistry between the 2 actors and also shows
Mhm.
Eric able to play into a musical scene. It shows a range to his character.
Mhm.
Again, this girl could have been something in this show.
Yeah.
It's just disappointing.
Yep.
But
Gotta go for the
we
joke.
transition away from the darkness, Brett, to a scene of Morgan getting a book read to her by Cory, and there being discussions about this book and how she needs to go to bed now, and it's not fair because Billy said that he let him stay up late, and she says, and I think this is really important, you're making me go to bed because I'm your sister. He says, no, I'm making you go to bed because I'm your brother, and I love you, so go to bed. And there is that distinction because as an older brother, I can say that you will do things as an older brother that you do not because they are your sibling, but because you are their sibling and you have their best interest in mind. So
Mhm.
you have them go to bed because they need to go to bed. And I can also say for my own children, if they don't go to bed at reasonable times, they are monsters the next day. So just trying to save them from themselves, essentially.
Mhm. The little purple duck is quite the overachiever, isn't he?
Yes. But yeah, we also see that Topanga is there because she heard that her dangerous boyfriend was babysitting.
She brought tacos.
Yes, very nice. Taco. It's a very sweet gesture on her part, although it's kind of late,
Yes.
so give anyone heartburn, including high schoolers. But this is a point where Topanga does apologize because she, kind of overreacted and she felt bad, and seeing how she was treating, or how he was treating Morgan, was really nice, and she believes he'll be a good dad someday. I just love that Cory's going through this. Children respect me. They really do. They see me as this authoritative person, and at the same time, these children are walking up the stairs behind them. And he finally turns around and says, "So we won't have kids."
Yeah. Perfect sitcom ending. Morgan comes down, sneaks her friends upstairs, and we end on a freeze frame.
Which I'm not sure what age these children are supposed to be, but that's pretty bold of them to get out of their beds and go to Morgan's house.
Seriously, they've all snuck over to someone else's house.
Yeah. But we go to the tag, Brett, where Eric's at the store and he's pricing some stuff out, and all of a sudden a new single is coming out called Fuzzy Wuzzy Wov. And they start to play it. It's not good. They cut it off and say, "Well, she's over."
And Eric just
And as my script says, Brett, Eric gives an evil laugh.
I wouldn't call it evil.
I would call it
satisfied chuckle.
That's also an option, but definitely on the malicious side, I would say.
Yes, it's definitely not a wholesome laugh.
Yes, maniacal laugh, maniacal laugh. And Brett, that is your deep dive. That's an episode, Brett.
Well, then let's go to the deep dives.
People, 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 people. Am I the only one who read the summer reading list?
Right, let's get started with the presidential election of 1996, and that was between Bill Clinton and Bob Dole. Also, there was a third party person, but that's not really important. This would be Bill Clinton's second win as the president, leading to his second term. His vice president both times was Al Gore. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into politics because those are the type of things that drag us down, Brett.
Yes,
you don't need
this
it.
is not a political podcast.
Just need to know, people, that that was the election at the time. No one questioned the results. Let's see here. Which one do we want to start with? I think we're going to start. Let's focus on the babysitting for right now. So some differences between babysitting in the 90s to today, Brett. Back in the 90s, apparently it was quite common to pay babysitters via check. Nowadays, apparently you pay them via Venmo. Cash also works then and now, but yes, the two different payments of check versus Venmo is a thing. Back in the 90s, you could ask your neighbors to watch your child for a day, and today you source the internet for world's greatest sitters weeks in advance. That's also just a comment on the fact that our neighbor, understanding what it means to be a neighbor, is very different nowadays. Back in the 90s, you'd leave your kid money for a pizza, and nowadays you can basically order and get any food you want sent to your house. Back in the 90s, calling in to check on your child was pretty much the norm, and nowadays you can get play-by-play by your babysitter sending you pictures of what's going on. In the 90s, you just kind of hope that your child would be in bed at a reasonable time, and nowadays you have cameras in your house to make sure that they're actually in bed. 90s, you could let your sitter order a pay-per-view movie, and nowadays you just let them have Wi-Fi access, and they'll take care of their own entertainment. And I gotta say, at the end of the day, you have to trust whoever you have as a babysitter and just hope that everything works out, because that's all you can really do. And if you're stressing over what's going on at the home, then you're not actually enjoying your time. And why'd you go out in the first place then?
Mm-hmm.
So, I wanted to bring this attention to anyone out there because I understand that today it could be scary to have people babysit, especially teenagers, because all we ever hear about is bad things about teenagers. But the Red Cross actually does babysitting training. It is available for it's a 4-hour online class that is for anyone from 18 and up to become a babysitter. And if I remember correctly, you there's part of it is actually getting CPR certified. At least that's what it used to be if it's in person. I do remember that because once upon a time my sister did do this. So typically the age is like 11 to 15, but you can probably be a little older than that to take the class. Basically, just kind of goes over general safety things for babysitting and best ways to handle difficult situations and making sure you're able and feel comfortable to be able to help protect and safeguard child while you're babysitting. Now, as we're talking about children, I guess we could go to that chart that I had sent you, and it just kind of shows the differences of how much time based on how old someone is of sleep they may require. And I think Billy may just be in that 7 to 8 year old range at this point. So
That's what
looking
it
at
seemed
like
like.
9-ish hours at most. So, if the kid's going to bed at 9 o'clock, it's, not that unreasonable. My 6-year-old, we quite often send him to bed anywhere between 8 on a school night to 9-ish, on the weekend. Doesn't matter what time he goes to bed, he always wakes up at 6 o'clock anyway. Radio shows, Brett, in Philadelphia. So some of the top radio shows is WXPN Radio, Power 99 FM, 102 or Q102, 96.5 AMP Radio, WRIT Jazz, 90.1 FM. Those are some of the big ones. And there are, talk shows or like sports talk shows as well out there too. Some pretty big ones as well. We talked briefly about the Boy Meets World situation. And because apparently it was, from what I'm seeing, it was during the premiere that they had started at 9:30. And for this episode, they went back to 8:30. I'm not sure when they go back to 9:30 or maybe it's 9 o'clock. I don't have that, but from what I found, it was 8:30 for this specific episode, which is interesting.
Very. Their schedule would get a little bit wonky sometimes because they would trot out a new show, and if it didn't do well after a few weeks, they would cut it, and then they'd fill up the void in the schedule with some repeats, and they might move some shows, new episodes to the different time slot, and then you'd get maybe double episodes of Boy Meets World on a Friday night, and double episodes of Family Matters the next week. So,
yeah, fair. So, Brett, let's talk about. There's a reference made at one point before Corinna's first song started playing, and he says, "Move over, Alanis Morissette," and that's referring to the famous Canadian singer songwriter Alanis Morissette, who wrote the song and sings the song "You Ought to Know," which famously is about her relationship with David Coulier from Full House. And
out.
released on July 6th, 1995. It's really funny because for many years, David Coulier would outright deny, "That's not about me. That's not about us whatsoever." And in more recent interviews, he's admitted, like, well, I'll listen to the song, I'll hear something, and I'll go, huh, that sounds familiar. So yeah, we're not going to go through lyrics or anything like that, but it's definitely about their relationship, and it's a very famous, popular song. I'm not sure on the Billboard 100 where it landed, but it's still a song that it gets sung to this day, and quite often for like karaoke and whatnot. I know people will use that quite often too. So,
There's
charts. That's what I was looking
great moment in The Office, one of the Christmas parties, where Kevin sings it.
for. Mm-hmm.
You ought to know.
Okay, so on the U.S. alternative, it reached number 1 on the U.S. mainstream rock billboards. It reached number 3 on the U.S. mainstream top 40 billboard. It reached 7th on the U.S. radio songs billboard. It reached 13th, and the U.S. Billboard's Hot 100 reached 6. So it never, outside of the alternative, it never reached number 1 anywhere else. Although apparently it's quite popular in Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. So, and Brett, those would be your deep dives for this week.
All right. So let's move on over to...
You know anything about the Odyssey? Huh? Did I say you could talk?
I didn't teach you that.
My friend Mr. Matthews will lead the discussion.
Do I have to draw you a picture?
What did we learn this week, Tyler?
Well, Brett, one of the things I guess I was reminded of, well, there's two things really. One is when it comes to parenting, babysitting, all that jazz, you have to play. Anytime you're working with a child, trying to help them, keep them safe, you have to do what's best for them, how you can help them. Every kid is different, so every experience, whether it's babysitting or parenting, is always going to be different, and trying to work through those differences and figuring out what works, what doesn't work, what is good discipline, what's bad discipline, all that jazz. Those things take time. Now, the other thing I think that was good, and probably my main one that I was thinking about, is you can't really deny who you are. And trying to be someone else that you're not is not good for you. And so don't ever try to be someone that someone else wants you to be. That's the thing I learned this week.
Mm-hmm. I go with don't try to grow up too fast. There's all kinds of reasons to not to do that, but you were given the time in your life that you are at now, good-looking people, especially if you're a teenager, if you're a young adult, there are things you're supposed to enjoy now. Don't try to rush into it and expect that if you're dating, that the person you're with is going to be, if you're in high school, the person you're with may not be the person you're with having kids. Don't expect them to be perfect with kids now. Enjoy the time you have right now and don't try to grow up too fast. And on top of that, if you're in a relationship, communicate what's really bothering you and don't just let it be tacos.
Tacos.
Taco.
Yes. So.
I'm right?
No, you're exactly right.
So am I done with my education? Can I go?
Tyler, what do you grade Shallow Boy?
Well, I hate to make it sound like I only like the Eric storylines, but Eric's storyline I'd probably give like an A minus to it because it was solid. There's some stuff that kind of annoyed me about it and things that weren't great all around. And it wasn't perfect, I guess, but it was still really good. And that's probably my favorite part about the episode. And then as far as the Cory storyline goes, and again, Cory's always has to balance his friends and his girlfriend and also what the issue is. And, I'd probably give that like a B minus, I want to say. So all in all, I think we're looking at like I'll go with like a B plus. I think it's fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
What about you, Brent?
I was I'm with you on Eric's. I enjoyed the humor of his. I enjoyed that he had a conflict that he had to resolve, and he had to pull back and figure out what to do about it without. He didn't want to destroy her. He just wanted to go back to the way things were, and he wasn't trying to be malicious or anything. He just found a way to help her get back to who she was. I enjoyed the Cory storyline probably a little more than you did, just because it's normal for high school relationships to get to that point where one's looking further in the future than it's time to.
Yep. Fair.
So I'm going to give the episode as a whole an A minus. There are some things with it that are just, the time issues are out there. I think that's probably the biggest thing. If we could lock down what's going on with the day of the week and what's going on with the time in this one, it might be a little more solid.
Yeah.
Very distracting at times.
And this is a weird episode where outside of Amy, there's not really a whole lot of other adult,
There's
advice
not.
given.
It feels like it needs a little more. As much as I love the moment we got with Amy, it feels like we need a little more, whether it's Amy or Alan at some point, even just Alan giving a couple of sentences of guidance to Eric on his situation, or Amy giving a little more to Eric when he comes in and he's getting all that grief from Morgan. It just feels like we need a couple more sentences of guidance from one of the parents.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that, but Brett, I think I owe you a dad joke.
I think so.
All right, so these are musical inclined ones, Brett.
Okay.
So let's give this one a shot. I think you may like this more than I do. So, how many concert masters does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
Just one, but it takes 4 movements. Okay, I figured you would get that more than I do. Here's one I get. Why did the pianist keep bragging? Oh, no, sorry, that's not the right one. Here it is. Why is a piano so hard to open?
Why is a piano so hard to open?
Because the keys are on the inside.
All right, good looking people. That means it's time for us to say good night for another week. Thanks for stopping by and enjoying our time together. If you want to reach out and say hey, you can on social media at dadsmeetworld across Twitter/X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Or you can drop us an email at dadsmeetworld@gmail.com. And, we'd love for you to give us a 5-star rating or a review or whatever you think we deserve, because that helps other people find us, and we love to share the dad love around.
Yes, we'd love to.
Yes. So, Tyler, until next time, I'll see you good looking.
See you good looking.
How can I learn so much every week and still be so stupid?
Dads Meet World is a production of Head First Studios. Head First Studios. Tell your story.
just when you think you're ready to go, you realize your light's not on. Dang it.
Well.
Anywho.
Yeah. So Toby got to play his
Oh my gosh.
trombone.
We have to stop.